The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, iHeartRadio, Simul Radio, and Simul TV. To find out about the programming we have available for you 24/7, 365 on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit www.xzbn.net, and for the programming on the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV, visit www.simultv.com. X Zone Nation, my guest is Leela Hutchison. She is a graduate gemologist from GIA, that's Gemological Institute of America. She's an explorer, researcher, and published author on crystals, gems, and minerals. Her new book is Journey into the Giant Selenite Caves of Mexico, and you can find it on her website, www.thecrystalgiants.com, and on amazon.com. In January 2001, Leela was on a team of first explorers to enter the astonishing giant crystal caves. These colossal pylons of crystals are located nearly 1,000 feet down inside a 200-year-old working silver mine, and is in the village of Naica, Chihuahua, in the Tarahumara Sierra Mountains. These caves contain what are known as the largest crystals on Earth, ranging in size to approximately 40 feet tall and weighing as much as 60 tons, and estimated to be 550,000 years old. Joining me now is Leela Hutchison, and Leela, welcome to the X Zone.
Hi, Rob. A pleasure to be here. Thank you.
It's great having you with us. What was it that, helped you decide that you wanted to be a gemologist?
In 1996, I decided that I wanted to get into hands-on healing. And when I started to do that, I started to understand that there were many layers of energy around the body and in the body, the physical body. And the more I started connecting energy to energy, I started having a number of things happen to me that led me to be more curious about crystals.
Such as?
I was invited in 1997 to head up to Plumas County. In fact, I wrote about this in Northern California where I live. Mm-hmm. And actually go up on top of a mountain and under an oak tree to dig for quartz crystals that were growing off the dendrites of the root system of this oak tree. And so there were three of us, and not only did we dig underneath the tree, but there was actually a room that was underneath this tree where people had gone in to bring out backpacks full of crystals. So that was the beginning for me to understand my love of that and curiosity. I took all those crystals back home with me and gave them all away except for three.
Yes.
That was what I was guided to do. And little did I know 3 years later that being underground and feeling all that suffocation, that I would be in the crystal caves in Mexico, invited down to be on a government expedition. a government sanctioned expedition to help the miners and the mining company explore what was inside these deep pockets of material.
You said that you were guided to do this. Who guided you?
Yeah, guided to, when I said that, you mean guided to go into that,
To follow your love of crystals.
oh. Well, I think this is a really important thing, and I think you understand it because you're a musician and probably love music.
I do.
It's passion.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, this is beautiful. This makes me feel good. It excites me. I don't understand it. It's a mystery. What is this all about? Why do I love it? What do I want to find out? What do I want to follow? What can it show me? Where can it lead me? So those were the questions that I was asking myself, just based on that navigation of passion.
So would you say, how big were these crystals that you brought home with you, and why did you keep 3 of them?
Okay, so this is quartz. So silica dioxide is very, very different from selenite crystals. Okay. Selenite crystals are extremely soft, and they grow. They have to have a very moist environment in which to grow because they're formed through water and minerals. But quartz crystals are like formed inside pegmatites, which are really like deep pockets of heat and pressure. So this is where we get quartz crystals to grow. And so in this curiosity, my friend, who was he worked on the marina over in Oakland, his buddy, and he had gone up to the mountains and had brought back this backpack full of these quartz crystals that were in clusters. Some of them were very tiny. Some of them were as big as a salad plate. Wow. And the fact that they had mined those crystals, most people that love crystals, that go to these crystal gem fairs and go to the Tucson Gem Show or the Denver and all over the country, these crystals have been handled by many, many, many people. When you unearth a crystal yourself, that's a whole different ball game of the excitement and the heartache and for me, it was just the feeling of near suffocation of being underneath and digging my way with the dirt right in my face and just having my arm with a screwdriver trying to unleash some of these quartz crystals that were stuck in mud and roots and tap roots of a tree.
What is the significance of a quartz crystal when it comes to the healing modalities that so many people use as crystals these days?
All right. So quartz crystals have the ability to hold a program. So when you think about that, most of us, we have lost, like many things, we're ancient civilizations, and people understood a little more of the power of using crystals. Remember, crystals are just the gem portion of a mineral. It's the part that crystallizes, and sometimes it's not a very good crystal. It's almost completely obscure, so you can't see through it. And sometimes it's a very high gem quality where it's completely transparent with a very vivid color. Yeah, right?
Yes.
So quartz crystals were used in olden times, because people understood how to use them. It's your thoughts. You work with your thoughts, and then you can channel or transfer those images into the crystal. So, but for me, I'm a healer. I do healing work. So when I use different types of quartz crystal, whether it's carnelian or citrine or amethyst, these are just the different colors of quartz crystals. These have an ability to hold a program. So if you program it with an intention or a thought, it will hold that. That's why many times you hear in these days is that if you do have a crystal and you buy them at some of these gem fairs, you need to take them home and make sure that you put them in water or some salt or outside, and you want to energetically clean those crystals so that they can start with a 0 program of somebody else handling them. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. So basically what you're doing is you're You're just erasing all the data that's been put there by all the different people who have touched it and transferred their thoughts and their programming into the crystal. So
That's
that
right.
when you get
That's
it at
my
home,
theory of it. That's exactly, you want to recharge it and program it with your intention and your love. And God forbid you put a negative thought in those crystals, because everything gets amplified. And if should you put that out in the world, it only comes back to you. So think of quartz crystals as amplification, where selenite crystals are more like data. They receive and transfer data. They don't really hold data. They do to some degree, some information, because they're made out of water, and water holds memory. We know that through the Japanese scientist Dr. Emoto. So you can program water crystals and they'll hold a certain vibration. So that definitely is with selenite. They're more of transmitters and receivers. Just as you look at them, as I sent you some pictures, I think or you can go to my website at thecrystalgiants.com and should be able to see some images of the very first crystals that came out of the Naica
all right,
caves.
we're going to hold it right there because I have to take a commercial break here. Exo Nation, Leela Hutchison is our special guest. www.thecrystalgiants.com, and she's the author of a new book that's out there, Journey into the Giant Selenite Caves of Mexico. It's available on her website and Amazon.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV. Plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
We live in rapidly shifting times of extreme volatility and uncertainty. Such profound change brings a unique opportunity for the evolution of consciousness. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, host of Mission Evolution Radio Show, a program that explores the latest scientific developments and deepening spiritual truths supporting human evolution. Join me on xzbn.net, where I interview leading experts in science, physics, medicine, spirituality, and more. By applying divergent viewpoints to leading-edge topics, we uncover expansive and evolutionary truth to assist you on your path to enlightenment. More information and past episodes are available at missionevolution.org.
Exonation, Leela Hutchison is my special guest. Her website is thecrystalgiants.com. She's the author of a new book entitled Journey into the Giant Selenite Crystal Caves of Mexico. It's available on her website and as well as Amazon.com. Tell me about your exploration into the Naica caves, because that's why I stopped you there, because I wanted to give you enough time to explain it, because after reading the information that you were kind enough to send us, I find this very exciting.
I'm glad you do, Rob. It's a very curious subject. Believe me, it's had me deep on the trail of research for the last at least 15, 16 years of my life. It was in... after I'd gone into those quartz crystal pocket underneath the oak tree, little did I know that I would totally forget that experience that I had been underground. I thought that was fascinating, and that 3 years later, as I was actually moving to Sedona, at that time, that was October of 2000, I ran into a person that I had been doing charitable work with a fascinating group of runners from an Indian nation of northern Chihuahua, Mexico. They are called the Tarahumara Indians. They are known, see, this is all tied together. Okay. They're known as the fastest runners on Earth. These guys were brought to the United States by a person who coached them into the Leadville 100, the Los Angeles Crest. This was in the 90s. And they would far surpass, beat some of the top elite runners in the world. They would stop at the water stations and smoke a cigarette and had their huarachis, if you want to call them that. They made their own sandals.
Right.
Their legs were they're as strong as tree trunks. And they learned as a very young to carve a ball out of ironwood, a very, very dense, heavy wood, and kick that with their bare feet or their bare toes. They would have something underneath. But these runners were in Copper Canyon, and they lived remotely in these very stark areas of the Copper Canyon, and sometimes in caves and small villages that crisscrossed all over this very deep canyon that is, I believe, almost 2.5 times deeper than the Grand Canyon, if you can believe that.
No, that's a very deep. That's a very deep amount. Holy cow, twice that.
Yeah, it's a very. I believe so. I believe it's.
But I just like to interject to you something, if I could. When you were describing the runners that would go to the drink stations and they'd have a cigarette. So does that mean that cigarettes are really not bad for your health? Because these guys are fast.
Yeah, they're really fast. I don't know the ultimate outcome of longevity of their lives, Rob. I wish I could. I just admire him. But there was a guy named Rob McDougall, very cool guy, who wrote a book called Born to Run. Mm-hmm. And it was his journey of spending time with the Tarahumaras and with some of these other elite runners out of the 60s or 70s or 80s that trained with these crazy, if you want to call them crazy, but very incredibly connected to Gaia, to Earth, nature, who lived in Copper Canyon and helped these guys learn how to run endurance. The Tarahumara Indians will run up to 100 miles at one time, to the point they'll run deer down.
Holy
so
cow.
Their endurance is incredible. They're the ones, and because of Rob McDougall, chia seed, you know how popular that is now as a superfood?
Yep.
Well, that's what these Tarahumaras would, they would eat that. And the chilacote tree as well. There was those are a poisonous red berry. That goes into a whole other story about the giants and the giant bones found. So you can see what's happening. I'm digressing a whole lot because there's so many pieces to this.
It's just all right. If we don't get them through this hour, we'll bring you back on and we'll have one heck of a cliffhanger.
Well, we'll do it because I'm getting ready to write my second book called Mysteries into the Chihuahuan Desert, because the more I said, what the heck is this? Why was I chosen? And I call it chosen because I had an opportunity to be in these crystal caves of this gigantic enormity of a crystal specimen. 8 years before National Geographic ever got down there, and or anybody else. Actually, we were like the very first explorers to bring out these rare images, and this is what I've been teaching about all over the world, and presenting even to the Smithsonian Institute this year. Yeah, you might have read that in my bio as I sent you, is that I had the good pleasure of sharing those original photos with the Smithsonian because they didn't have them.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. Here you are in this cave with 40-foot tall, beautiful crystals, some of them weighing up to 60 tons, going back as old as 550,000 years. That's 500,000 years. How did you feel?
Well, I felt like somebody had turned on a great surge of electricity, if you'd call it that, but more because it's water, so it's more magnetic. I just felt a great surge of energy, and yet completely depleted and exhausted. I got to tell you the conditions of the cave.
Okay.
Again, this is all I'm going to connect this back to the Tarahumara, because I don't want to leave this to your listeners wondering, like, well, what does this have to do with crystals?
Understood.
Something's going on in that Copper Canyon area that's creating paranormal experiences and circumstances there.
Such as?
Well, first of all, again, the Tarahumara are a very extreme endurance running race of people. They're also considered to be the precursors and pre-runners of the first indigenous nation of northern Mexico.
Okay, but I meant how do you tie the paranormal into Copper Canyon?
Well, a couple of things. Again, because they have these, what you would call them as superpowers of endurance runners, number one.
Okay.
Then you have, we have at least cited 3 different historical reports from the late 1800s through early 1900s and up to 1950 of giant bones that have been discovered in pockets of caves inside Copper Canyon where these amazing endurance runners live. All right. And then we have a number of UFO crashes that have happened in the Southwest, and certainly on the border between the Chihuahuan Desert and Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona.
Oh, so, okay, let me stop you here, because I can understand the giant bones. I can understand some of the paranormal activity, but how do you know that there have been UFO crashes there?
Oh, what's been documented is the Mexico's Roswell that was written by my good friends, and you may know them, Rob. Ruben Uriarte, who is the director of Northern California MUFON, and Noe Torres. They both collaborated on the report of the 1976 Mexico's Roswell crash.
But once again, there was no evidence of the crash that was ever retrieved.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, what they know is that, okay, tell me more. How do you know that there was no evidence? Do you know about this one particularly?
Yeah, I do. And just like with all the other UFO cases that are investigated by MUFON, all smoke, no mirrors.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about MUFON. It was investigated before MUFON.
But still, there was never any evidence collected and shown to the public.
Yeah, never.
Why?
Never. Well, my understanding is, you know about that. That's a very fascinating case where like 27 Mexican soldiers were found dead at that site.
Okay. That doesn't mean it was an alien spacecraft.
Yeah, they had loaded it up on a semi-trailer and were taking it out, and there were reconnaissance planes from the United States.
But once again, this is all hearsay, speculation.
I know. I'm frustrated too. I understand.
You know, and I think that this is one of the biggest problems that the UFO community is facing today, that there's a lot of hearsay and no evidence. And this is why mainstream media and others who would pay attention to ufology before are losing interest.
Well, this is a big subject, and it's not my specialty. Yeah. All right, my specialty has to do with many things of paranormal activity and experiences, and there have been witnesses. You know, again, but can the witnesses prove it? That's the question.
Yeah. The cave itself. You know, everybody listening tonight is well aware of what happened with the young soccer team and how they were trapped in a cave for a great number of days. Were you ever in fear when you were doing your exploration in the cave that something might happen to you and your fellow explorers?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you why. These conditions were very different, very much different than most. As those 12 soccer team players and their coach were exposed to very cold water and conditions. This was different. Something very, very unique had happened there.
All right, we're going to take another break here because I have to take my news. All these are hard set breaks. We have to take them when the network tells us to, so please stand by. Exo Nation, Leela Hutchison is our special guest. Wow, what an exciting life. Imagine that. Being in a cave with 40-foot crystals weighing up to 60 tons, as much as 60 tons. And these crystals, Exo Nation, estimated to over 500,000 years old. Wow. Talk about something that's going on my bucket list. We'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue talking to our very special guest this hour, Leela Hutchison. Her website is thecrystalgiants.com, and the name of her book is Journey into the Giant Selenite Caves, Crystal Caves of Mexico, and it's available on her website at amazon.com. I'm Rob McConnell. Leela and I return on the other side of this news break. Don't go away.
From our broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the world and beyond, you're watching the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
AVS Media Demo.
You have heard of the X-Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com.
That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
All right, just imagine this. Crystals that are over 40 feet tall, weighing 60 tons. That's 120,000 pounds. Estimated to be 550,000 years old. That's more than 500,000 years. My guest right now is the lady who was there, who saw them, who broke the news and went to the National History of Los Angeles Gem and Mineral Council. She's gone to the Smithsonian. She's done radio and TV internationally. Her name is Leela Hutchison, and her website is thecrystalgiants.com. Her book, Journey into the Giant Selenite Caves, Crystal Caves of Mexico, and it's available on her website and on Amazon.com. And Leela, thank you so much for joining us. I've got to have this in my bucket list.
All right. Well, you're going to think twice about this before you put it on your bucket list, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
These crystals, how they were formed, Rob, and I want your listeners to imagine that there was a massive inlet sea. It was called the Sea of Thetis. It was a ancient ocean that over time became an aquifer.
Okay.
And so when you think about the Chihuahuan Desert where these crystals were formed, we're looking at over 200,000 square miles of some of the most stark desert you can imagine. It's really hostile. It's rough out there. And it touches portions of Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. But this is mostly northern Mexico. And in this area, this aquifer so now sinks below the earth through layers and layers of different strata.
Right.
As it does this, and there's limestone, okay, as this does this, somewhere occurring in time, there is either an earthquake or there is some kind of a pole shift. Something has happened where as this aquifer sits deep down on magma. Now, magma is much further down, right? There are like kimberlite pipes, right? This is where magma chambers come up and they heat part of the crust from the mantle. Somehow, whatever shakes and jolts and disrupts the earth, it pinches some of this magma. So it doesn't recede back down into a core. And now it becomes like a perpetual Bunsen burner.
I was going to say a giant size pressure cooker.
In a way it is. So you got to think about this aquifer that's underneath there. Exactly. And now you've got this heating, this water. So what happens is that there's cracks in the bedrock and there's fissures in the bedrock and there's a hydrothermal chemical exchange of minerals. And so the water has now come into some of these half-eaten pockets, right? Because limestone interacts like with the carbonation of the water and creates holes. That's why we have Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico, and many other caves are created like this. And this begins to fill up with water. So think of this. It wasn't until 1970s that the Pinollas Mining Group, or whoever had the mine at that time, Pinollas Mining Group owns it now out of Mexico City, had no idea when they drained water through pumps that these pockets would be in cavities. They're little pockets, you can call them caves, but they're cavities, would be growing these incredible crystals that had been for a 500,000 years. So now what you have is you've got an environment in the world, and especially in the mining industry, this is considered the most hostile environment ever to work in, because what you're seeing now and what we experienced, it was 130 degrees, 136 degrees when the crystals were formed. 8 months later, as the steam is leaving and going into the tunnels of the mine, it's now 128 degrees. It's completely dark. There's no lighting in there. And it's 100% humidity.
My gosh. How did you find your way around?
We had the the illustrious light of a miner's helmet, which is nothing. I don't know how many candles a miner's helmet is. It's not many.
Yeah.
And a battery pack that most of us that were on this little team, there was only like 5 of us that went in there at that time,
Right.
you know, would cinch up our belts. So we lost so much water weight and were completely exhausted to the point where we had to lay down after we were in these caves. And the first one we were in for about 42 minutes, and that almost defies a physical human being of being in there, because what happens is that a person can go unconscious with that type of heat very, very quickly. There's no way to wick or to cool the organs down in the body, including the brain.
Were you walking? Were you crawling? Were
crawling.
You,
if you again, and if my book will show the rare images, and I can't say in this lifetime it might be a collector's edition, but maybe for somebody's grandkids.
Oh, I think it's going to be a collector's image way before then, young lady.
Well, I really hope so, because they're such rare images, and they're you'll see many pictures of the photographer that and the guy that actually got us all in there too. You'll see me crawling all over those crystals, and there were many, many more, and they were submitted to the Smithsonian in April of 2002, Rob, and it was called Crystals and Moonbeams, and the Western editor of the United States was John F. Ross at the time. And so the Smithsonian already knew that things were pointing very early on that some magnificent discovery had been made on planet Earth of the largest crystals ever found.
Let me ask you this question. There used to be a large sea where the Sahara Desert is today, approximately the same time in history, where the sea was in the area that you were doing your exploring. Is it possible that there are many crystals in caves like the cave that you explored beneath the Sahara Desert?
Well, possibly. Again, this is going to have to deal with it would have to repeat an incredible condition of where a pinch of magma was sealed off and actually, is a perpetual Bunsen burner that is heating the water. So we do know through NASA space scientist, astrobiologist Penny Boston, Dr. Boston, who was on the team in 2008 and 10, once they came back from that exploration into the Naica crystal caves, they said, oh man, we know that there's more pockets of these, plenty more.
At any time, besides the physical dangers that you and your fellow explorers faced, I mean cave-ins, getting lost, the water loss in yourselves, the exhaustion that you had, was there the possibility of any organic bacteria or organic matter that could have been detrimental to your health?
Well, that's a very interesting question. So let's talk about that. So the organic matter is bacteria, microbes.
Yes.
And I am sure that we took some of that out of there. And the crystals, they actually, have you ever heard of something called an anhydro? It means it's a bubble of water inside a crystal.
No, I haven't. No.
Yeah. Okay. So what happened in 2008 is when NASA came down there, and the team of explorers, they took a drill bit, which broke of all things. That's how hardened at a 2 on the Mohs scale of hardness. But once they were able to drill in and collect samples of the water that was inside these crystals, it took them. Well, they held on to the information until last year, Rob, and Dr. Boston revealed at that time a paper, submitted it. And this paper revealed that the microbes that were found inside these crystals, are you ready for this?
Yep.
60,000 years old, living on God knows what, but we do know now what's called chemosynthesis instead of photosynthesis.
Right.
So they ate the minerals off the walls. And in their database on planet Earth, they can't find a match for what they found inside these crystals. It was alien microbes.
Now, do we mean alien because they're unknown to science,
Yes.
or do we mean alien because they came from outer space?
Well, this is a good question. What if the hypothesis is these came from comets?
Wow.
All right, because comets are full of water,
Yes.
and water crashes on Earth. They also found microbes as far south as South Africa, in Mexico. So what are
Unbelievable.
microbes doing in Mexico?
I don't know.
So we don't know how this all works. Is this the circulation of water in ways that we don't understand through subduction?
Yeah.
Okay, so that could happen. And then again, why are alien microbes? There's not a match on planet Earth. It's the closest thing would be about 20% to alike, like a mushroom bacteria or microbe. That's it.
Talk about food for thought. Wow. You and I have to take our final break. What an interesting lady we have with us this hour, Exonation. Her name is Leela Hutchison, and her website is thecrystalgiants.com. She's the author of Journey into the Giant Selenite Crystal Caves of Mexico, and it's available on her website as well as Amazon.com. We'll be back as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. On the other side of this short break, don't go away.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV. Plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
The new nonfiction book, Razor of Madness, is similar to cult movies like Clockwork Orange, Dragon's Tattoo, or The Other Side of Hell. Wayne Morin Jr. and Thomas Lee Howell expose widespread and systematic deficiencies in this thought-provoking tell-all novel. Mind control rages among scholars in law schools. Human rights are ignored while thought reform and mental manipulation are accepted practices used as behavior modification. Dr. Louis Jolyon West comes to mind. Media and public scrutiny shows that United States mental hospitals are in fact destructive murder industries. Razor of Madness expose novel details this epidemic through an in-depth professional and personal investigation. For decades, there has been a revolving door policy that still releases killers and pedophiles back into society. The maestro of mind control continues to haunt America to this very day. Razor of Madness is available in paperback or as a downloadable ebook at Amazon.com.
The concept of a new age has been around since the late 19th century, yet much of its original meaning has been lost. What exactly is the new age? Is it a religion, a collection of obscure esoteric practices, a series of doomsday predictions, or an astrological event? The New Age Chronicles is a unique complementary publication bringing reason and grounded information to separate fact from fiction. Chock full of valuable information to support you as we make the monumental shift into the new era. You won't want to miss a single innovative issue. The New Age Chronicles newspaper is coming soon to www.newagechronicles.com.
What a fascinating lady our guest is this hour, Exonation. Her name is Leela Hutchison. She's the author of a brand new book entitled Journey into the Giant Selenite Crystal Caves of Mexico. Her website is thecrystalgiants.com, and her book is available at her website as well as on Amazon.com. First of all, Leela, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great pleasure talking to you, and so many interesting experiences that you've had, and I, for one, am very grateful that you brought them back to the rest of us to share with. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, Rob. I'm very excited that you find this interesting topic enough to share with your listeners.
I read something in the information that you sent to Stephanie. It's called fast radio bursts, and you have a theory about signals and crystals.
Yeah, I do.
Could you share that with us?
Okay, this could be a far stretch for some people, but and I'm still working on this, but
at least you're working on it.
Yeah, I am. I have never been able to give it up.
There you go.
So I think, as I look at these crystals and have worked with energy, and being part scientist as a gemologist, and then also doing healing work using the power and amplification of crystals on the body,
right?
And looking at that in the auric field of the human crystal, I believe we're a human crystal and are evolving into much more of that because we are comprised mostly of water, and
yes,
water holds memory. So those are water crystals and blood crystals. When I look at the selenite crystals, and if you see the cover of my book, Rob, you can see that they look like antennas.
Yes.
You know, they're at a diagonal, right? So, and here's somebody like you in music that, you know, is very sensitive to sound.
Yes.
And radio waves and frequency. And you look at these and you can almost see that they look like transmitters and receivers. And
that's exactly what crystals were used for once upon a time before the artificial receiving modalities that we use today. I remember my first CB set was a Hallicrafter CB3A. It took me 2 years to save up to buy it. And when you bought it, you only got one set of crystals. You had to buy the other ones.
That's so cool.
It was. And then do you remember as a child, maybe you don't, but I do, we had these little crystal radio sets that we would put together. So there is no way denying that crystals, number one, are powerful. Number two, they hold memories. Number three, and this is where some of my listeners will think that this is a far stretch, I don't believe we actually know 10% of the knowledge that is hidden or yet to be rediscovered when it comes to crystals.
Yay, me either. And I think you're totally right. And maybe what we do know has been suppressed by other technologies because this is so natural and abundant and readily available to us. Sometimes things are put right under our nose and they call it something else. And so we don't even recognize the value of that.
I wonder what Nikola Tesla would have said about crystals.
Oh, man. Well, he said, I have one quote from him. I wish I could remember it, but it's basically that the life of a crystal is inherent with, I think he said, knowledge. I have that in one of my PowerPoint slides because he made a quote about it.
Fascinating. And something else, the crystal skulls that are being discovered. You know, there's so much to learn about crystals, the crystal skulls, as well as the other gems that we have here on this planet. I don't think that it's just a coincidence or a synchronicity or you know, geez, look at this. One has nothing to do with the other. I believe that everything on this planet is interwoven.
I do too. I definitely do. Yeah. So back to this idea about signals.
Squirrel. We got lost. Okay.
I'm here.
No. I said squirrel. That's what I tell my wife when I'm talking to her about one thing and she deviates to another topic. So I just did a squirrel.
No, I love it. I do love it. last year they found it. Actually, it started in 2012. They found these fast radio bursts that were from a galaxy 3 billion light years away. Okay, and I
Wow.
believe, and I adore her. Linda Moulton Howe just
Yes.
actually did some research on it. I've got to find that interview because I've been bringing it up in a couple of my interviews a year ago when I first discovered this, because the dishes at Arecibo and Puerto Rico have been picking. That's the largest dish that picks up radio signals, and then there's the very large array outside of Socorro, New Mexico, as well.
That's part of the SETI array, right?
Yeah, it's really fascinating. I've been out there, and because we're looking at a frequency. We're looking at frequencies, and I think about these selenite crystals transmitting and receiving frequency, and with these fast radio bursts, what if whatever is coming from 3 billion light years away is being encoded and maybe turned into other kind of data or receiving data out there in the universe, and it's being picked up by our crystals?
I think that, and when I've had Seth Shostak on the show, I've said, Seth, how do you know that you're using the right frequencies or the right modality to listen? What we're doing and what SETI is doing is they are using the science as known today to try and listen to an extraterrestrial message. If ETs are out there and they're sending a message, we could be listening with deaf ears because we're missing the type of transmission.
Wow, so brilliant. You're so right. What if it was something like this?
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah.
This, and then is there a connection between the crystals in Mexico and the Aztec and Mayan culture?
Well, that's an interesting. So with that culture, well, I think those cultures are based partially on ET visitation for sure. I don't know, because it's such a natural thing and such a hostile environment. Yes. I don't know if those crystals that were formed in Naica, Chihuahua, Mexico were, but I have my theories about it, are a cluster of crystals that were deliberately stimulated to grow to be part of like a Arecibo, maybe.
Well,
like
let me ask you, how far is a Mayan temple away from the location of the Naica caves? Naica caves, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. That's a good question. Let's see. So in fact, I did some kind of crystal grid work down in Mexico City in 2015 when I was there, 2014 on the 21st of December. It's a good ways. I would say it's got to be at least 1,200 miles.
Oh, okay, so I was just trying to tie in the crystals with the Mayan temples, and then I was going to try and work my question to you about the Sahara Desert and the pyramids in Egypt.
Yeah, I know. Well, if you've got to look at these limestones. These limestones have crystals in them as well. So there's crystal particulates like there is in granite as well. So they're definitely picking up things and receiving. And we know that what incredible transmitters and receivers the pyramids are. Yes. I think stone, these monoliths are they have way more abilities and properties than we know of. This really brings in, I was just having a conversation with Michael Tellinger. Have you interviewed him, Rob?
Yes, I have.
Oh, he's just, his work is, wow, we were really having a good time thinking about what those stones were doing and how they're putting out signals themselves, the way that they are.
Two questions for you, and I have to have short answers because I've got about a minute to share with you. Number one, is there a connection between, in your opinion, between crop circles and crystals, and then Stonehenge and crystals?
Crop circles No, I think it's plasma.
Okay.
I don't think it's crystals at all.
Okay.
Could be. Stonehenge. Yes, it has something to do with crystals. Because the crystals are in the earth and the minerals carry crystals.
You know, we've run out of time for tonight, Leela. I do want to thank you ever so much for visiting with us. We'll have to have you back on and further discuss this and all the great work that you're doing. Let our listeners know where they can get a copy of your book. And once again, give them your website number. Address.
All right. www.thegiantcrystals.com, and you can, if you ordered off my website, I'll be happy to send you a signed copy, and you'll know how to find me there through details. If not, you can order my book. It's just now been translated into Spanish on Amazon.com.
Leela, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Continued success, and I look forward to the next time you and I meet back here in the X Zone. Until then, safe exploring. X Zone Nation, our guest this hour has been Leela Hutchison. Her website is thecrystalgiants.com. She's the author of Journey into the Giant Selenite Crystal Caves of Mexico. It's available on her website as well as Amazon.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifeology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com. Are you or is someone you know struggling with addictions, depression, anxiety, relationships, low self-esteem, lack of confidence, grief, success, and prosperity? Do you know that your subconscious belief plays a big role in the outcome of your hard work? We can help you permanently change the beliefs that may be the reason for your struggles and failures. We care about getting you the return on your investment and the results you are looking for. We can help you be free of the limitations of your past and in realizing your highest potential. We work with people by phone and Skype. For more information, visit us at www.ritasoman.com. That's www.ritasoman.com. Do you think you have energy problems in your home? Do you feel better when you're away than when you're home? Joey Korn is a global leader in the world of dowsing who specializes in personal energy clearing and space clearing. He can help you create an ideal energy environment in your home no matter where you live in the world. Learn about his remote spiritual house cleaning services and much more at www.dowsers.com. You can get Joey's book, Dowsing, A Path to Enlightenment, as well as other dowsing books and tools, Kabbalah books, and Walter Russell books. Joey's work is really amazing. Go to dowsers.com right now. That's DOWSERS.com or call 1-877-DOWSING. That's 1-877-369-7464.